Hey guys, Omni here. Yesterday was the season 5 finale of Legends of Tomorrow, and I did watch it yesterday, but I didn't want to post anything here on the channel in accordance with Blackout Tuesday, just to show my respect for everything going on in the world right now. I didn't want to add anything out into the ether that might distract away from what is happening. Even though as much as I like this place to be a safe place, to get away from the cruelties and just the tragedies of the real world, I like it to be an escape where we can just kind of come together and talk about the things we love and enjoy. But everything going on right now in the world, in our country, is something I think the major problem has been that it's been avoided up until this point. The conversation has been neglected, it has been ignored, and that's not something I want to do or contribute to. I don't want to be a party to that. And I'm going to take this moment because I'm not the smartest person in the world. I mean, I've just been to high school. I've finished college, but for art. So what use is that in this type of event going on? I've been doing my best, reading articles, trying my best to educate myself on ways that I can help with what is happening right now. And I do advise that you all do the same. I'm not telling you what to do or anything, but that's just how I feel about it. I think what is happening right now is imperative and important for the future of this country and in a greater perspective, even the world. I mean, I feel like we're 100% the most behind as this goes, but this is just eye-opening and just ridiculous how long this kind of stuff has been going on. And I think that we're in a place on top of the pandemic that is going to push this nation into a trying time. So do your part, do what you can to learn about what is going on in the world. Fact check pretty much anything you find out there and do your part. And it's going to be the end of my soapbox. I'll have some links to a couple of the things that I've used so far down in the description as well. So yeah, let's go ahead and let's talk about comics. I don't want to keep being a bummer here. I'm sorry. All right. So if you haven't seen the finale yesterday, be sure to tune out and come back once you have, because I will be going into some spoilers. So here we go. So the team has reunited after escaping the sitcom television prison that they were trapped in to satiate the public while the fates ruled the world. So the team decides to split up and try to figure out how to take this down. One group goes straight to the headquarters to try to figure out where the loom is, while the other group goes on search of the Wave Rider. Sarah and her team do locate the loom, but word of mouth travels to the Fates, and they learn that the Legends are no longer in their television prisons since their shows have now been canceled and the public is starting to complain about it. Atropos is dispatched to find them and take them out. And when John, Sarah, and Astra find the loom, Sarah decides to confront her and hold her off while they try to manipulate the strands of the loom to destroy it. And during this confrontation, Sarah comes to a realization that she got her current abilities, even though she's blind, her sight, her foresight, and everything like that. She realizes that this power came from her exposure to this god. It is linked to her. And even though Atropos gets the upper hand on her for a minute and pulls out her life thread, Sarah realizes that maybe she can do the same. So she yanks hers out, and Atropos is like taken aback by this. So Sarah's able to get her under control, and she uses her thread to sling her into the loom, killing her. So the other Fates, Charlie and Lachesis, feel that shock, that disturbance in the force that their other sister has been killed and taken out. Now that the loom is destroyed, the team reunites, and we have Team Ava with the Wave Rider trying to get it jump started, because when they find the ship, Gideon is no longer installed in it. Gideon is missing from it, so they have to jump start the ship, and they need some sort of conductor to do so. So they have Nate strip and get steeled up and run some electric currents through him to jumpstart the ship. Everybody jumps and they teleport away back to the past to try to get away from everything going on right now. And when they re-arrive now in this timeline, it's all different. People aren't worshiping the Fates or anything like that, but all these people are walking around with this smartwatch that identifies as a Fate watch. Instead of going to the Fates for their instructions every day, it is just being pushed and outputted to this smartwatch that everybody on the planet is equipped with. So now the team has to figure this out, because it's a whole new reality that they got out of this whole situation from destroying the loom. So now they're going around trying to figure out what's going on. They find this museum that is pretty much erected for all the atrocities of mankind that were the result of free will, according to the Fates, according to Lachesis, who really kind of pushed this even farther into kind of gaslighting Charlie that this is all her fault. This is all your fault, that free will led to all of these horrible, horrible things in the world. And so there's this monument that's been created to constantly remind people of what horrors free will led to. And there's some funny stuff in there because there's some items like a pogo stick, there's shake weights, cigarettes, and then there's this display that has the artist Cisco, who sang the Thong song way back in the day, it just put up there, and it's like, hey, that was the party time song of the summer back in the day. Why is that in here? So they move along, and then they come across this next exhibit that has all of the encores, all the world's most horrible, or history's most horrible people lined up, and they're even ranked by order of like their terribleness or their threat or whatever. And they see that Vlad is actually number 14, so they're like, well, who's number 1? And they come up upon number 2 and see that it is themselves, like wax figures of the legends, and on their plaque it says God Killers. So they're like, well, if we're number 2, who's number 1? And they go further down the exhibit to find a living exhibit in which Charlie is trapped and on display as the one who created free will. Gah. I love that whole concept. I like that idea. I was like, oh, let's make a museum of all the terrible things that have ever happened in the world and what choice has created. And then using her and, again, making her feel that guilt and accept this as her legitimate punishment. And she feels like this is where I'm meant to be. She really got mixed up in that whole thing. And like, I really liked how that all went down. So the team pretty much comes up with the idea they need to shut down this app. So they go to figure out to find its source that is giving out everybody's commands because they can't find the loom anywhere. There's no evidence the loom was back. So they do find out where it's coming from, and it's not the loom. They confirm that they did in fact destroy the loom, but that Lachesis has stolen Gideon and installed it into this program so that she can deliver these directives to the masses and keep them controlled that way. So the team has to figure out how to shut that down. So they kind of split off with Bayrod and Old Zari working on that to try to get that shut down and free Gideon as well as freeing everybody else. While the team and Astra go off to figure everything out. During this whole storyline, Astra's been having a very much a crisis of identity because when she was gazing into the loom, her mind was flickering with these images between her mother and Lachesis. Like she was being like manipulated during her time in hell to really kind of see Lachesis as her mother. And at this point, she's doubting herself. It was like, which one do I really consider to be my mother at this point? And I really touched on that. I really thought that was nice, how they handled that and approached it. And of course, John being there and coaching her through that and supporting her as he has been doing this entire time. And, she, in this whole coup, her with the other legends go back to the museum where Lachesis is touring people around, talking about the horrors of free will and all that stuff to the public who are there for the tours and whatever. Or maybe they're even being forced to go in there as a reminder that they don't want free will. They go down there, and then as she's giving her presentation of each thing they pass, she gets to the number 1 most horrible thing, of course, which we saw earlier was Charlie. Now is Astra taking Charlie's place and confronting Lachesis about everything she had done, the life she had taken away from her. And then the legends themselves were apparently just holding their breaths the whole time because they replaced the wax figures with themselves in their outfits. And I thought that was kind of funny because they're like, oh, finally, we can stop pretending to be statues. So everything comes down. Lachesis' whole scam and sham is revealed to everybody, and then in a last-ditch effort, she uses the last soul coins that she has to activate all of the encores that have been installed into this area, into this museum, one of which is Marie Antoinette, who is I'm just glad to see, because it's nice because we get to see Courtney Ford again, and her and Ray are just missed. And even though it's not Nora, I still like what she does with that character, just the way she acts, and I like that whole thing. But the team equip themselves and arm themselves with items throughout the gallery to try to fight off these encores. So you have Sarah fighting with a pogo stick. You have just John using magic, and he does this neat little like warp. The camera does this awesome thing too, where he does this warp through the floor and like this radial spin to like dodge a stab. Nate, before the battle actually engages, he's like, we need some music for this, pretty much. And he goes by the Cisco display and hits the button on it, which activates the display. So Cisco and his, bikini dancers start dancing, and he starts performing the Thong song as the backdrop of everybody else fighting the other encores. And it's just this surreal, very much Legends thing that happens. So while this is all going down, you got Constantine fighting these people with his magic. You've got Rory punching and shooting fire. You've got Nate dancing while steeled up. And in the meantime, you've got Sarah fighting with this pogo stick, and Ava just angrily and ferociously shake weighting at people. And it's ridiculous, it's absurd, but it definitely made me laugh. Back on the ship, Lita has this conversation because the team, liberated Charlie, but she was still doubting her place in this. She was still trying to fight that doubt that Lakeisi's instilled in her mind. But Lita shows up, Rory's daughter, and she talks to her, and she's like, free will and chaos isn't always bad. I mean, the only reason I'm alive or exist at all is because of that. For all intents and purposes, she was an accident, but it gave her life. It gave her purpose. It gave another frame of mind and something to look forward to and live for Mick as well. Like, chaos and free will can lead to horrible things, sure, but that's just part of life and part of choice. People make mistakes, but sometimes beautiful things happen. And that wins Charlie over. Her doubt is expunged. She goes to back up the team, brings their arsenal of hell weapons, since the team doesn't have anything they can actually kill these encores with. And she just divvies out all the weapons to everybody on the team, and they just start wiping out the encores. Charlie goes after Lakeisi's to confront her herself. And it goes in a direction that I didn't quite expect. She just approaches her, explains all the things that she did to her own life, like the control that she tried to have, and says that despite all of that, she just wanted her sister's acceptance and approval, and that she still loves her. I mean, they're still siblings and all that. So she expresses her forgiveness to everything Lakeisi's did. And she was like, listen, now that we're not immortal, stop focusing on controlling everybody else's life and figure out what to do with yours now that you are mortal. You don't want to waste it. And I thought that was a really touching moment. A little bit of a kind of anticlimactic ending for the big bad of the season, but I liked it. I think it got a good point across. So after all that, they leave, they return to their ship. And throughout this whole episode, some weird stuff has been happening to Bayrod. He's been getting flashes of his previous life. He sees a vision of himself dying from old Zari's original timeline. And throughout the episode, more of that starts happening. He starts getting fatigued at certain points. And then eventually, halfway through the episode, he starts having the wounds from his death from that previous timeline start to physically manifest on his current body. Throughout the end of the episode, once we get there, they realize that this is happening because they have two different timelines fighting for this one Bayrod, because both Zaris now exist from Charlie splitting that thread in the previous episode. So the only thing they can do to save Bayrod at this time is, again, to say goodbye to old Zari. And I didn't want to, and she has this painful goodbye with Nate that it just kind of touched and hit me hard. Because I really like her. I definitely prefer her over the one version of her that's all on to boning Constantine, because I still just find that so strange and weird to me. I don't want to say goodbye to that character again, but it looks like we are. In their mourning, as well as their celebration of conquering the fates, they all go back in time to Charlie's pub where she reunites with her band, and they are drinking their woes away, trying to celebrate the life that they have at this point. Celebrate to Zari, celebrate to the restoration of free will. And Charlie's on stage with her band rocking out to a punk rock version of the Mr. Parker's Cul-de-sac song. And I thought that was a really fun moment. Everybody's wasted. And as the gang starts to leave, Charlie says her goodbye. She's like, this is where I'm going to stay, guys. And she leaves the team. And I did, just to add to that, because we've had some other long-standing members of the team vacate this season. And I did see an article today that did confirm that Maisie Richardson-Sellers, who plays Charlie, Amaya, is not returning next season. So this is her goodbye. This is her leaving the show. She will not be part of the team. I mean, maybe she'll come back, do like a cameo here or there, maybe in the future, but she won't be a main cast member in the next season, according to a report that I read today. But as they're saying their goodbyes to Charlie, most of the group, wanders back to the Wave Rider. Sarah lingers a moment watching Charlie go off back to the pub. And in that moment, she is hit with this beam, like Scotty beam me up, this teleportation ray or whatever. And, she can't call out to the team as they're just walking away. They don't notice this because they're just too drunk. And she gets sucked up into the sky, into this light that just zooms away. And that's the end of the episode. There's a lot of cool things that I liked in this. It wasn't the best finale. I thought it was a little lackluster. I did enjoy it. It was ridiculous. It had a lot of that Legends DNA that they've kind of transitioned into past season 2. So it was very much in line. I just feel like it was a little small. Even though it was dealing with fates and these timelines and stuff like that and free will, something about it still felt very much kind of self-contained and small scale, like not like a season finale, but like maybe a mid-season or like just a really big hard-hitting episode. But I don't know. Aside from Charlie's goodbye and of course Zari's goodbye, the rest of the episode didn't feel that huge to me. Not that it was bad. I really enjoyed the episode, so I'm not like trying to poo-poo on it, but I was just like, as far as a finale goes, I don't think I would rank this all that high compared to some of the other finales for the show. But I liked a lot of the things they did in this. I liked Astra's arc in this episode. I like what they did with Zari and Bayrod, and everybody else in this had some great bits, as well as a lot of mentoring of Ava to make her more kind of comfortable being the leader, which has me some concerns. Gives me some concerns on how much longer Katie Lotz is going to be around, because I know she's at least back for the next season, as far as I know. So I don't know. It had me a little worried with her wanting to take that job in Star City, with her wanting to, put more responsibilities onto Ava. I was just like, you're not leaving too, are you? Is everybody leaving? Gah. But big question though, what happened? I saw some people on Twitter be like, is it aliens? Well, probably. I've heard some rumors leading into the end of this season about what it could be, and it's honestly ended up being my first assumption and guess based on the imagery used to depict what happened there. My first thought was, did she just get teleported to Warworld? Because that's what it looked like to me. That's the impression I got. That was, especially because it just singled out Sarah, arguably the best fighter on that team. It would make sense if Mongol shows up next season and we find Sarah trapped on Warworld and the team has to go save her. That would be awesome. That would take the Legends to a whole other step, kind of getting away from this more mystical kind of aspect of it, because they would take him into space and do something different, because they've been doing magic and mystical stuff for the last 2 seasons. So I don't know. I'm really excited to see if that is it. I don't know if that is. It could definitely be anything else, knowing Legends. It could be something just a throwaway. It could be Barvin the Martian for all I know. But overall, it was a fun episode. I'm not going to crap on it or anything, but it just felt small for a finale. That's all I'm saying. but I liked a lot of the character moments. Maisie Richardson-Sellers is going to be missed. Um, it's just, man, losing Courtney Ford, Brandon Routh, and now her. It's getting hurt. It's hurting a little bit. Calm down. Keep my people around. Maybe Mona will be on the team more. Or Lita, I don't know. Like, it feels like we've lost some people. We need some more space. We need some filler, fill up this attrition on the team a little bit with some bodies. Feel like we need to go on a Legends hiring spree or something. I don't know, man. So that being said, if you guys have watched the episode, I want to know your thoughts. How did you feel about it compared to the other season finales, which weren't really the intended season finales? This was the only one of the CW shows that got to air its actual planned season finale. So how do you think it stacks up with the other ones? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. We'll carry on that conversation after the video. Thank you all for tuning in. Aside from Stargirl and Doom Patrol later this month, we're a little thin on some DC content until January 2021. So I'll catch you guys in the next whatever. Take care, everybody.